Kirby Grant Hoon was born in Butte, sort of raised in Missoula, and was a child prodigy in piano, I think, or violin. And it was kind of a performer through his years, but he became famous in the 50s as Sky King, the pilot who went out and saved people and caught criminals on TV for basically 3 or 4 years, from 51 up to about 54. But he was a big what I call a B movie star, starting in the late 30s, clear up into probably 1960 or so, and played in about 57 movies, including this one under his name, Kirby Grant. But he was also under a guy named, or he used the name Richard Stanton, I believe. But these were all what were called B movies. And then he became Sky King, and he had 2 different airplanes, and I just found one of his airplanes a few weeks ago in Auburn, Washington. We're going to try to bring it over next spring to the Museum of Mountain Flying.
Twin V?
No, his first plane was what was called a bamboo bomber, a plywood or wood airplane. Most of his segments were used with a Cessna 310, and it was called a Songbird, and there were 4 of them, and one of them is still active flying, and it's owned by a guy that has who runs the Sky King fan club in Auburn, Washington. So kind of watch for that. I'm hoping we'll have him over here next spring. Unfortunately, after his TV show, he kind of quit most of his acting. He did a little bit. He moved to Florida, and he had started a ranch earlier for kind of wayward kids, and then he moved to Florida, and on his way to the Cape Canaveral in 1985, at the invitation of the astronauts to watch a space shuttle, he was killed in a car accident. And I actually just learned recently that he was even buried here. Some of you that are older may remember Dixon and Hoon shoe store downtown, which is, I think it was right next to the dark room. Yeah. I'm assuming that was either his dad, who obviously is over here, or his uncle. Does anybody know? I should have done some more research on that. And I think one of his other relatives, possibly over there, had something to do with Western Montana Savings, Federal Savings and Loan. So, although he was a big star in TV and movies, probably nobody around here has really heard of him. Now, hopefully more people will. So, any questions or comments? This is one of his movies called Yukon Gold he was in. He was in 57 movies. And I should have brought all his movie credits. And they were all kind of what we call B movies, not, first-rate movies, I guess. Of course, I'm sure he thought they were first-rate, but and this is with Chinook the Wonder Dog, and this particular guy here, James Oliver Curwood, was a very prolific author, and Hollywood made lots of movies on his books, and a lot of them were set up in the Canadian wilderness.
Is this his daughter here or wife?
I'm assuming that'd have to be his daughter, I presume. Yeah, it couldn't be his wife. Yeah.
How did you find out he was buried here?
What happened was, I knew about this guy, but I didn't know that he really had much to do with Missoula. But we got a grant just recently out at the Flying Museum to do a display on him because of Sky King and aviation. So I just looked him up on the internet, and it said buried in Missoula, and otherwise I wouldn't even known he was buried here. And then when they called me to do this, they said, well, why don't we do Kirby Hoon, since he's right here and nobody's really knows much about him. So
that's great.
So any other questions? Or
was he really a pilot?
Yes, he was a pilot. Yeah, he was a pilot, and he flew his own airplane in the TV show. say he had two airplanes. First one was a wooden airplane called the Bamboo Bomber, and then they went to what is now a lot of them still flying a Cessna 310 twin engine plane. And to say one of them, I found one of them still alive and well in Auburn, Washington. We're going to try to bring it over next spring and have a Sky King Day.
Is it still flyable?
Yeah. It's owned by the head of the Sky King fan club.
Oh, really?
And he told me he's got $100,000 worth of artifacts of Sky King.
Wow.
And if you remember, for the people that are older, including me, if you remember the 50s, all these shows, in the same way with cereals, they all had cereal boxes. They all had these little premiums and rings and different things. And I just found one on the internet. There's a ring of Sky King that's worth $12,500 just for this one little ring. So keep a watch out for anything that says Sky King on it. It's probably worth some money now. So.
Do you know what happened to the daughter?
No, I don't know. You know, I don't know anything about his daughter or his wife, and that's something we got to do some more research on.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.